wanted to pick back up on my Living Monad series. The Living Monad series for me was an experiment in incorporating each little segment of the astrological year, meaning in Aries season, we focus on Aries energy, Aries traits. I wanted to incorporate it in a certain way back then with something body, mind, and spirit, some kind of activity that I do, experience and live that energy.
Yeah. But a cheat don't run. I'll be here when you come out. They'll shoot you down without warning.
So we're going to look at the hands, a quick activity. This book's really cool. It gives an overview, a history of palmistry. Could be.
But what I came to find out about myself during that process, I think I made it up to Leo season. It was going to be Leo season, and in my mind I was like, I want to go to an amusement park. I wanted to use that fun energy, that childlike energy, go to an amusement park, get on a roller coaster, do that, film a little bit of the day, and just have that full experience for me. And a little bit of a clip of that would have been taken for the video, the series of the Living Monad. On the way there, Brian and I are driving, and he says he wants to get some better shoes, some new shoes, some walking shoes, to be walking around the theme park. And that little deviation, I'm talking about that minor deviation, threw me into what I now know as an autistic meltdown. What that just means is you have your mind set on this track, A to B. You're going to go here, and this is what you want to do, and this is your routine. You have this plan set in your mind. And to go here or to insert something else is like a catastrophic deviation in terms of your plan and your order or whatever. If it's not just on a spectrum of autism, it could just be anyone. This could happen to anyone, right? But what it is that sense of comfort, also control, and a disconnect with your ability to process changing the routine, changing the schedule, what you have anticipated. And so it kind of threw me off, and it was such a weird reaction that I had because I was so overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, we're not going to get there at this time, this is going to happen, I don't want to stop. And I don't even know what I was thinking at the time. It was just so ridiculous now looking back, which tells me that growth can always happen in people. Change can always happen, but it has to be sparked by awareness and understanding and a willingness to look at oneself. So I remember looking back that I was like, that was such an irrational, because I like to think of myself as a pretty rational person, even though I'm spiritual. And so I was like, that was such an irrational reaction that I was even kind of like, what is it that made me kind of fall to pieces just by one small change in a plan or a routine, and such a drastic reaction. I can't even remember exactly the details, but I feel like I cried. I feel like something, it was just not normal, right? And I'm in my 30s. I don't remember. This was probably a couple years ago because I stopped the whole series at that time. Because that whole thing, it actually drove me into looking into late diagnosis, adult autism, how women are often not diagnosed because they are able to mask, get through life by adopting other traits and things like that to, blend in and not stand out, which is completely the opposite of my mission in life now. But what I learned about that was helpful for me because it gave me information, it gave me a framework, all these other things. And so, long story long, I stopped that series, but I went into all this other inquiry into learning about this, learning about the spectrum, all this stuff. And I had so much growth from that. Learning different things about myself, personality traits, just like I learned with astrology, that we all have all of these things within us. The spectrum of who we are is from Aries to Pisces. All of those traits are within us. But we have these dials, I say this all the time, that are on and off to whatever varying degree that create the color, the shades of us, who each of us are, and who we project ourselves out to the world. Mix that in with people who aren't really awakened to self and their journey of consciousness. They might be actually projecting a completely different identity because of who they're around, or it might change from time to time, person to person. And that's even further away from where we want to be. So I'm speaking to people who actually already know a little bit of their true self, their identity. They want to live as that person. Learning who you are and your traits is only one piece of the puzzle, right? And then you want to be able to embody the entire pie, the entire enchilada, the whole enchilada. And so that's what the Living Monad series was and is. And I want to pick up on that. But I needed to go through that detour. It was important for me because that's how, I don't know if it's 1 year later, 2 years later now, I'm a different person than I was at that point when I was doing it. Because now, in my mind, it doesn't have to be this performative thing where I like take clips of, you know, things and do all that stuff, because that's not necessarily part of it. It's good for content, right? But if that gets in the way of me being able to do the thing, then it's not going to be right? Because this is actually about embodying and learning about those traits and how they show up in you. And so at that time, again, Leo season, lions, roar, right? That was actually a sign of that energy pulsating out of me, where I was like this lion reaction to protect something. It wasn't just about the deviation in the plan. It was about this barrier, because it was also part of, I sensed that he didn't want to go at the time. Like he was like late going, getting up or getting into, like there was like multiple things that I hadn't said, but it was just like, this is a part of my baby, right? I wanted to do this Living Monad series. I'm working on myself, and then I'm also sharing this with people. And you only have so many days in each season, right? Because then the energy shifts, right? And it would be inauthentic of me to be filming Leo season stuff and it's not Leo anymore. People would do that, but that's not what this is about. So who I am today, learned so much about myself, has been on an incredible development journey in and of itself on that basis. But more than that, I realized that I want to pick back up the series, and not just in that performative way, but also just if you spend some time at some point at the start of the season, look up what those traits are, and then see if that energy, the positive and the negative, and see if that energy came to the surface in any varying degree for you for that season. Journal it, take note of it. And then if you have the time, if you have the energy, if you have the capacity, do some activities that are out of your immediate comfort zone, maybe, or within your comfort zone that embody that energy. So Aries being the head, Aries is always like the leader. Aries is headstrong. Aries would volunteer to go first. Aries would start a project or reach out to someone without actually knowing everything that they have to say. Like if you're in a sales position, those people have a lot of that Aries energy. And so any person in the world who takes on that type of role would do well to activate their dimmer switch and putting on a little bit more of that Aries energy. On the negative side, they could be hot-headed. They could be very me, right? Because it's about, I'm the individual. It's all about the head and me, the self. It's very self-focused. But so you want to see if there's parts of you in this season that were a little bit too in your own head, thinking that you needed to be the first person to do something, thinking that you need to be in the driver's seat, that the focus needed to be on you. And in that way, you would need to dim those Aries traits that are on the negative side, getting to a place of balance, but also knowing that I can embody this energy of this slice of the whole astrological enchilada, or pie, whatever you like. I don't like pie. So yeah, I wanted to share that. And then even more recently, to close along that whole autism thing, it's so funny because I went to a spiritual shop even more recently, like a month or two ago, and met this lady, and we're having this great conversation. And then it kind of went crazy. Because you have to have the discernment, the eyes to see, the ears to hear, to know, like, just because someone says that they are religious, just because someone says that they are whatever authority role. This is also Aries energy, right? You need to check that authority, that mouthpiece. Are they using it to build, or are they using it to tear down? And to also, are they speaking from a sort of bias? 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, that's my new thing. 10 times out of 10, if we're being honest, they're speaking from their own biases and their lenses. And you can tell if a person is working on self by the degree to which they'll say, okay, I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong about that. I'm willing to be wrong about this. I'm willing to learn a new thing that helps me to better understand what I currently understand. Get to a place of understanding, get to a place of overstanding, all of the stuff. And so at some point in this conversation, she's like talking to me about what was troubling me at the time and what might be helpful, beneficial in her shop to have. Like if it's an a bath, like a salt bath or something, or whatever it is, if I'm a bell to ring in the home to like clear the energy, whatever it might be. And she goes, or at one point I had said that I didn't like, oh, that's what it was. I didn't like the sound of the bell because I get like really sensitive to certain loud or discordant noises. And I was like, could it be like a soft, gentle, sweet bell? Because she had like this really crazy bell. And she was like, no, because if you're trying to like, make sure you're clearing out. She was like, actually, this is where I realized discernment. This person has a little bit of a bent towards something darker. She was like, if you're trying to get rid of negative energies, then it needs to be like a loud, discordant, like not a pleasant bell, basically. It needs to be loud and whatever. And I was like, oh, I don't know if that was going to work for me because I'm really sensitive to sound. Like I think I'm on the autism spectrum, in some degree. And she was like, oh, no, I don't think you are because my son is on the spectrum. And I think you just have a lot of toxins in your body. So that moment, I didn't say anything because I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Because I don't need to be on the spectrum. There's really no benefits. Like it's not like you get a check in the mail. You can get categorized as a disability, but there's no work accommodations. There's no like prize for it. But there is understanding that comes from it. If you're an adult, late diagnosed or undiagnosed, and you're trying to gain understanding of your limits or not limits, your perceived limits or your certain discomforts or things like that. If you're trying to get understanding so you can feel a little bit better about yourself, that's pretty much the only thing. And for someone to come and tell you, no, that's not you because XYZ, whatever, that's them trying to take that away from you. Just think of that the simple way that people can knowingly or unknowingly just take something away from you that is helping you to get a little bit further in your understanding, in your journey. For some people, that's even like religion. If you try to like come at their religion because you criticize one piece of it, I consider myself Christian plus. I'm not just a Christian. Or the whole enchilada, right? Because I don't feel like anyone is less than because they don't have the same beliefs as me. That would be naive of me. Religions have been around so many years. Some so many years before the others. Who are you to say which one is superior, inferior, whose life is more valuable? All that stuff that we're getting into and we're seeing play out on the big screen today. But the point being, you're not trying to take a thing away from a person if it's helping them. If you're living on these pillars of truth and these teachings and they're helping you to shine, to be better, to step forward in life and to do good things in the world, let them have that. Let them vary. Let them have that, right? And so anyways, when she said that, I didn't say anything, but I thought to myself, what her mind was thinking was probably that I have a son who has more visible traits, that has more physical difficulties in life. Like he's more on this side of the physical learning, speaking disability, whatever it may be on the spectrum. She's completely forgetting the word spectrum is involved in that, right? So she's saying, oh, you aren't this because my son is this. And let me take that away from you, whatever you know as your truth even. Let me take that away from you because I feel like it doesn't align with what I see and I believe. And what I'm looking at when I see you is not someone that's struggling. When I look at him, I see someone that's struggling. And so I will give him my empathy and attention. I have compassion for him, even to protect him in this conversation, to stick up for him in this conversation. And we do this in different times in our day-to-day. Like think about who you stick up for when they're not around and think about who you throw under the bus in the same way. Like we got to think of that. Both people could be struggling in their own separate ways, and both people could benefit from having a little bit more compassion and understanding about how they show up in the world. Just because I don't demonstrate in the same way that your son does, doesn't mean that I don't have issues in certain social environments or get, different, like I said, like I can't do certain bright lights, all this stuff. If you don't know me, don't assess me. That's for one. If you don't understand someone, don't speak as though you know what the deal is, right? And that's it. I feel like I could have came up with like 3 or 4 or 5 more things, but it doesn't really matter because it's all simple. Return to love. Like I just did that Marianne Williamson the video, Our Deepest Fear. So powerful, so beautiful. It's a mantra of the year. I'm just going to keep repeating that. And to go back to, again, how I interact with the Living Monad series for this year. Sometimes it will be whatever I can do physically, and if I can record it, cool. But I will also share like what's going on in energy in terms of that season. What are the traits that you want to dim, turn up, turn down, and to see how they interacted in your life. I did make some Aries moves this season. I definitely made some quick knee-jerk decisions. It was just a moment where I just felt like, that doesn't sit right. And instead of trying to, again, project my Aries headstrong, this is my opinion, this is how I feel, or I need to defend, or I need to fire, I just actually said, I'm gonna not. And I left. I don't know how that like translates in the big scheme of things. It's not really that big of a thing, but it was a big thing for me. It was like, no, I don't identify with this. From the top of my head to Pisces, the feet. You know, we're going to get there. The Aries is the baby of the zodiac. It's headstrong. It wants to be first and it wants to be a leader, but it's also got so much fire. It's got so much passion. And it's got so much integrity, so much heart like Leo, that fire energy. And it doesn't have to be used to burn necessarily, but it could be used to like burn bright for self because it's about identity. And so to fiercely protect your identity is one thing that's positive that we can learn from Aries season and this energy. And so let's see what the rest of this beautiful 2026 brings us. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.